Good morning. I'm Dilip Thakur, editor of EducationWorld.
Good morning, I'm Sunia Yasmin, managing editor.
The media is awash with a lot of news on politics, economics, sociology, gossip, film gossip, the works. But in our opinion, the mass media has very little news on education. And especially the kind of education news that educators would be informed, like to be informed about what's happening in the world of education, who are the people, and things like that. So we've tried to introduce a weekly show on picking up news and views and opinions. We hope will be interesting for our viewers. This is our first show, and unfortunately we have to begin on a very sad, tragic note. Dr. P.C. Thomas was the founder, principal and chairman of the Good Shepherd International School, Ooty, died last night.
Yes.
He was
an extraordinary institution builder.
Absolutely. The Good Shepherd International School is really perhaps the world's most meticulously planned and integrated school, spread over hundreds of acres and with its own organic farm.
Yes.
And a huge emphasis on co-curricular
education, particularly
music
education.
Yes. Well, I've never seen a school like that anywhere in the world actually. So, and he was a friend of EducationWorld. He supported us, always very encouraging, very kind person, and made extraordinary facilities available to his teachers in housing.
Yes, it's a great loss to Indian education.
Yes, it's a very great loss. He built this huge school, over 180 acres, with his own organic farm, all by himself and together with his wife Elsama,
Yes.
to whom we extend our deepest condolences. It's a great loss not only to her and her family, but also to Indian education. Today, what we are going to discuss today is developments in early childhood education,
K-12 as well as higher education.
K-12 examinations, when are they going to be held?
Reopening of schools, what's the debate happening there?
Then online education boom, which is everybody's talking about. Then this new education policy has been in the works now for 1 year.
Yes.
And we are told it's going to come out any time, and there's a lot of discussion not a lot, there's occasional discussion in the mainstream media about it. And one or two institutions. So we're going to cover some ground, not all ground. So let's start with early childhood education. You know, the Karnataka government has banned all online education. From preschool to class 5. And that's created a lot of controversy here.
Yes, it's created a lot of controversy also because I don't know if our viewers are aware, the American Academy of Pediatrics has said that in early childhood education, up to 2 hours of screen time daily is feasible, is okay.
Yes. And this has created a lot of controversy because all the preschool educators are obviously in favor. And the well-known Fatima Agarkar, who runs a consultancy from Bombay, she's written a long piece on Facebook saying, leave it to the educators. We don't want a babu sitting inside the education ministries to decide what's good for children.
Yes, I think India is blessed with a very talented and highly informed community of educators as well as leading health experts. I think it should be left to them to decide.
And especially also early childhood educators.
Educators and also parents.
And then we also have the Early Childhood Association, who is very well informed.
In fact, Dr. Swati Popat-Vats has advocated that, don't call it as online education, call it as home-based learning.
No, in fact, she said there's nothing wrong with having a chat.
Yes, have a chat with children,
with
exactly.
teachers, to create a communication, interaction. And so I think it's not a very good idea for government to tell educators what to do.
Yes.
There's something very wrong about this Neta brotherhood dictating everything about education and what everyone else should do, when actually they're not so well qualified in education as actual educator experts with a string of degrees from excellent universities,
Yes.
right, without consulting them.
Absolutely.
At least this should have been done in consultation with ECA and some education experts. The ban on preschool
Yes,
children.
online education. In
Yeah.
fact, this is going to impact the early childhood education sector, and it's going to hit them really hard.
Yes.
Because a lot of preschool teachers, a lot of entrepreneurs, many of whom are women and who've started preschools, now will have to shut shop.
Exactly. Already the news is that there are many preschools up for sale because they
Yes.
can't pay their teachers. And parents also are very wary about sending their children to preschools.
The IC board has
Made it optional,
Yes,
right?
made it optional. In fact, in response to a petition filed in the Bombay High Court, this CIC Council has now given parents the option to choose whether their children want to write the board examination or want their marks to be given on the basis of internal evaluation. So
And
all
past
yes,
testing
yes,
exams,
yes,
yeah.
and all.
But
all
is this
schools
for class 10 and 12?
yes, it's for both class 10 and 12.
Yeah. And of course, if children don't opt to write the exam, that might take their chances of admission into colleges.
Well, not really, since they've been given the option of internal evaluation.
No, but an
Basis-
internal evaluation will not have the same credibility as an
Yes.
external independent board doing the evaluation. But
Yes.
anyway, so
Anyway,
that decision's been taken, but in CBSE, it's still, the decision has not been taken
Yes,
for class 12.
Yeah. And class 10 also, the class 10 exam hasn't been
Completed.
as yes in CBSE.
And
A similar petition is being filed in the Supreme Court against the CBSE. Let's see what decision they take. But as of now, it seems that the CBSE is going to proceed with holding its
in
examinations.
July.
But I must say that the Kerala state government has just concluded conducting its class 10 state board exams, and they went without any
Very
incident.
smoothly.
It was very smoothly done. It was very smoothly organized, with children in exam centers being given free masks as well as free hand sanitizers.
And in Telangana and Tamil Nadu, the board exams have been
Cancelled, and students are going to be
promoted automatically. That's the situation about the exam. Is still in a state of flux. Should they be held? Should they not be held? What is the danger? Well, as you rightly say, perhaps we should look at what people are doing in other countries, and because it's not a prolonged.
Yes, because
it's
there's
not a prolonged thing
Yeah.
that the exam. It will be
Yes,
over in 1 or 2
yes.
days.
And many educators also advocating you should have one policy for one country
Rather than the
rather than
states.
these. Tamil Nadu and Telangana has decided against it. Now the same students will be applying, say, for admission into Delhi University, and they will be evaluated against a Kerala state government student who has given the exam.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of a mess.
So it's going to be a bit of a mess.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
The other thing that's very much in the news is this school switching to online education.
Yes.
Now that's become like a boom. Of course, that boom is very beneficial for edtech companies. And most private schools, certainly the upscale private schools, have made a smooth transition.
Yes,
to
I think they've come up with very good innovative solutions as to how education can be delivered online.
you can switch. And then
Yeah.
so right now that's going on a big way, but it's not a permanent solution.
Yes.
It's not a long-term solution.
Yes.
In fact, in our latest issue of EducationWorld,
Yes.
we quoted Dr. Govinda, who was the head of the NUPA, that's the National University of Education Planning and Administration, Delhi, is saying that this is only a stopgap arrangement, and that it can't be sustained over a long term, and that really it's being pushed by edtech companies because they want to benefit from this. And it's not likewise, and in our forthcoming issue, that's 50 education leaders, unprecedented issue coming up, 50 education leaders
Who can revive Indian
who can
education.
revive Indian education post-COVID. That's be out in a few days. Everyone has commented on this issue of online learning. So there's a wealth of information there, and the unanimous opinion seems to be that it's a stopgap arrangement, and that but blended learning, that's a mix
of classroom face-to-face learning as well as online remote learning.
A report filed by a Delhi correspondent quotes the minister there, Manish Sisodia. He has written a letter to the HRD ministry saying that, let's totally revamp
Indian education.
K to 12 education. So that's a subject which is quite interesting and it's still unfolding.
Okay.
The next thing is what you were just mentioning about interference and fees. Now, fees are a contract between the parent and the school. That I'm sending my child to your school and this is the fee you have to pay. It's a contract. Many state governments have said don't pay the fees during that
lockdown
period.
Defer the fees.
Or defer or waive, both.
In Assam they have asked for a certain amount of fee waiver.
Yeah, waiver. So now there's an argument going on whether fees should be waived or deferred. And obviously the private school owners are saying that our schools are still continuing, as you said. We have to pay our teachers, we have to pay our overheads, we have to pay our interest to the banks. There's no moratorium on that. So, actually these government circulars are damaging the private sector.
Yes, in fact, they particularly hit the private budget school sector very hard.
Private budget schools, which are low cost, affordable
schools. And they've hit them very hard.
Yes, a lot of students are leaving government schools for budget private schools. So now, and therefore budget private schools have never been the best friends.
Yeah. If private schools start shutting down, the demand for admissions next year, it's going to
skyrocket.
It's going to skyrocket. It's going to hit through the roof. And at that time, listen, parents, you can call up whichever minister you like.
And EducationWorld also, we won't be able to help you.
We won't be able to help you. So learn to preserve your private schools.
Yes, I think it's very important for parents to have a view that the children's schools are actually their own schools.
Yes.
Because most parents move heaven and earth to get their children into the schools. Yes. And once they get in, then they should turn around and say the fees are too high because they knew what the fees are before they got into that school.
No, though I must say a lot of schools who I've spoken with, they've reached out to their parents' community and their parents are genuinely facing financial hardships. They've given them concessions, fee deferment options, installment options, etc.
Yeah, and for our viewers, it's very important to point out that private schools are not a small number.
Yeah.
They school 43% of all school-going children in the country, and in private budget schools, 16 million children study.
Yes.
So it's not as though this binary, which is projected by lefties and communists, that all private schools are islands of affluence. Most middle class people, in fact 99% of middle class people send their children to private schools. So if private schools go out of business, it's going to be very difficult for the middle class. Absolutely. And I think our viewers are mainly middle class, you better understand that. Yeah. That actually if you don't pay fees and you don't support schools during this COVID crisis and the pandemic, you are actually shooting yourself in the foot and you're doing a lot of harm for your own children. So you should bear that in mind and support your schools. In fact, this question of not interfering with private sector institutions is also up into the universities.
Yes, higher education.
Yes, also. Because the other day there was a leader a rare editorial leader in education in Times of India, where they discussed the issue. Apparently, reportedly, the Kasturirangan committee has given a lot of conditions.
Yeah, the National Education Policy Draft, in fact, says that 20% students which should be admitted in higher education institutions should be on free ships and another 30% on scholarships. And it's also recommended a cap on fees in HEs as higher education institutions.
That's completely wrong. It's again an interference with contracts. And the Times of India editorial, in fact, agrees with us.
Yes.
And they say, leave them alone.
Yes.
Yeah, leave them alone. So I think it's important that this fees debate is sorted out, and our viewers and our readers of education there should be some clarity. And now, just to round off, a few some random news. OP Jindal University is a lot in the news, right?
Yes.
Recently they were ranked
India's #1 private university in
by QS,
by QS.
London.
Yes.
That's Quacquarelli Simmons, which is one of the
Yes.
largest university
Yeah.
rating agencies. So OP Jindal's gone to town on that, and they've advertised it. But in our own Education World India rankings for this year, that's
They're in the top 5.
they are number 4. Yeah, and the other news from OP Jindal, which is that the hostel facilities have been bought over by Goldman Sachs. It's a very big finance company, and that's an interesting development that they're now separating residential accommodation from the academic, and that will generate some revenue for the university. And maybe result in better quality accommodation also, because OP Jindal is a fully residential university. So what about the school reopening debate?
Debate is the news there is the MHRD has set up a panel, and it has tentatively said that August seems to be a good month for schools to reopen, though under the Unlock 2.0, which has been issued by the central government in its unlock opening phases, they say that July also could happen. But MHRD says August, and they are also due to release a SOP on the school reopening very soon.
But it's in this connection, it's pertinent to note that in the UK, which is more badly hit
schools
with the
reopened
corona,
on June 1st.
which is worse hit than us.
Yes, you're right.
By way of, if you compare their population. In fact, in absolute numbers, there are more deaths in the UK
Then
than there in India. But they've started schools already.
June 1st.
Ditto in Singapore and South Korea.
Yes.
Schools have started.
Yeah, also in Hong Kong they started.
Yes. So the point is that it's a difficult decision. It's not easy to make.
Yes.
But then, like we are taking risks in opening up industry and everything else, if by perhaps having 1/3 of the children coming in every day,
Staggered school
rotating,
timings, rotating.
staggered school timing, rotating the number of children, maintaining safe distances in school, making masks and hygiene and all that compulsory, it's worth a risk. It's worth taking the risk,
Yes.
because the school should have opened now in June.
No, June. Early June they should have reopened.
And they should at least open by August, which I think the ministry's date is a
It's
reasonable
August.
date.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable date, August. Yeah.
In our own opinion, in Education World, we think that school should open at least by mid-August or early September latest.
Yeah.
And with the schools observing is rotational of
Yeah,
rotational
I think
students.
the whole solution to this COVID-19 pandemic, as most countries have discovered, that lockdown is not a complete solution. So you have to find a middle ground where you open up, but yet do it innovatively in such a way that the health and safety of our youngest children is not jeopardized. So the cover story is 50 leaders who can revive Indian education. In this unprecedented cover story, we present to you all interviews with 50 leaders who we believe have the potential and the ideas to transform and revive Indian education in the post-COVID era.
Yes. So we highly recommend it. And just to round off, we wanted to talk about the new education policy. We are all waiting for it. The draft was submitted by the Kasturirangan committee last May. And the minister, in our own interview, which he's given us for our next issue, says they're working on it to bring it out very soon.
Very soon. So we don't know when this very soon is, because this has been happening for the last 6 months.
Yes. And there are some very good suggestions. We've done a cover story on it. You can see it on our archives.
Yes, education
on the
world
new education policy. And there's some good suggestions in it. And of course, as usual, we've said, let's give more autonomy to institutions, reduce controls and commands by government, and so on and so forth. And we look forward to meeting with you next week.
Thank you.